Hey, what's up guys? My name's Samuel Leeds. I'm a property investor. I make a lot of money property investing, and I also like to help other people also invest successfully in property. So one of the things that I do a video every single day, but on a Sunday, I do a weekly Q&A where I answer all your property questions, your niggly property related questions. I answer them best I can. And this week we've got some seriously good questions from last week. So I'm gonna start answering these now, but here's the thing. If you've got a property question, please do comment below. I'd love to read it. I'd love to try and answer it next week. Also, while I'm answering these questions, if it triggers another question, comment it below, get commenting. Also, if you haven't already subscribed to this channel, please do go ahead and subscribe. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you never miss a video because they're pretty good. And let's see what we've got this week. So, James Snedon. Thank you so much, James Snedon, for commenting. You the man. He said, Samuel, big fan of your videos. I've been stuck in a rat race for a long time and I'm looking to get out. Question is, if you're aware of an area that's having a lot of new infrastructure, i.e. new roads being built due to congestion, a new retail park being built, would it be a smart move to potentially invest in property around that area? What I would say is, the thing you've got to be really careful of, James, is buying for potential future capital growth. You know, what you want to be buying for is you want to be buying for good cash flow. So all areas are being developed all the time in England, pretty much. So while a retail park is kind of cool, and I'm sure it's going to lift the area, don't get super hung up on, you know, what might happen in the future, because you never really know. So is it going to be making money immediately? Is it going to be giving you a good return on investment? These are the things I've been looking for. Also, if you want to get capital appreciation, capital growth, you want to make sure that you buy after a recession. And people think that there's just a recession and an expansion, either or, but that's not the case. You see, in some cities, there could be an expansion going on, whilst in other cities, just an hour down the road, there's a recession going on. Because that's how it works, because each city has kind of almost got its own bubble, its own economy. So you want to find an area where properties have just gone through a recession, and then most people are scared, and as Warren Buffett says, when they're scared, that's when you be greedy, and you buy when properties are low. Buy low, rent high, with a property manager nearby. That's kind of my philosophy. So I hope that's helpful. Again, if you've got more questions off of the back of that, comment them below, or come on down to the Property Investors Crash Course, 2 days, where we work out how to find a good property on the spot and do it over the 2 days. And it's free as well. I'll put a link in the description below. Hope that helps. What else we got? Next is having 3 houses for rent. Is it better to open a limited company or just declare income from the property and no limited company? Okay, so if you're just buying a few houses, should you set up a limited company to buy those houses, I think is the question. If you already own them, I wouldn't set up a limited company and try and move them into a company, because by the time you pay your stamp duty, your accountancy fees, it just isn't worth doing. So what I would say is if you already own the properties, just leave them as they are, leave them in your individual name. I do recommend, in my experience, speak to an accountant for bespoke advice, because I can't give financial advice bespoke one-on-one on a video like this. But in my experience, buying through a limited company is better because there's a lot of tax savings. So you can claim the mortgage payments as tax deductible when you buy through a company. So I buy through a company. If you're going to be doing this seriously as a business and buying a lot of houses, it probably is going to be more tax efficient to buy through a company. So generally I would advise that. Okay, Matt Bex. I think I've answered Matt Beck's questions before. I love your questions, bro. Keep commenting them every week. So Matt Beck says, what are the obvious signs that a particular area is getting saturated with investors? Okay, really interesting. Listen, if an area is saturated with investors, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad area to invest, because I'd rather buy in an area where everyone's investing in that area, because they're probably investing in the area because it's good, than going to an area like in some weird part in Wales where nothing's going on, and then you're like, haha, no one's doing it. No one's doing it because it sucks. So if an area is oversaturated, it doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. What you normally want to do is you normally want to do something just a little bit different. So let's say if everyone's buying HMOs in Birmingham, and there's like loads and loads of HMOs in Birmingham, probably the supply is great, meaning lots of people are doing it, there's lots of supply. Probably the demand is also great. So it's a case of, how can I buy something in the area? I know the demand's great, and stand out from the competition and make the supply a little different. Maybe it's a case of, I'm gonna put en suites in my rooms because there's loads of rooms available, but there's not many en suites. So make sure that you've got an area where the demand is high, the supply is probably gonna be high too, unless no one's cottoned on, but normally they do cotton on. Just make your products a little bit different. That's what I would say. So how do you know if it's oversaturated? Again, you can do market research. You can check out, ring the agents in the area, see how fast properties are going, see what's selling, go on Rightmove and see what's sold recently and what's available. So you can definitely do your research, but that's my overall advice. So next is from Sandra. Sandra says, has Article 4 stopped or restricted you from doing HMOs? Maybe influenced your choice of investment strategy, or do you still buy properties for HMO purposes and pay the license fees? License fees. Okay, so Article 4 does not affect license fees whatsoever. What Article 4 does is it means that you can't buy a single let house. Article 4 is a district, like a zone that the council's put into areas. You can't buy a single let house and turn it into a HMO without planning permission. Licensing a HMO is a separate thing. Licensing is easy. Planning permission can be a bit of a pain. So how has it affected my strategy? So I personally don't buy houses and turn them into HMOs when they're in an Article 4 area, because it's too expensive, it's too time consuming, and it's too high risk because you might not get the planning. So what I do is I find areas that are not Article 4 but are going to become Article 4. I buy a single let house, turn it into a HMO, and then when Article 4 comes in, I have the grandfather rights, the automatic planning permission, which then what that does is it kills off my competition, and it usually in time will increase the value of the house, and it means that I haven't got to bother getting planning permission. I haven't got the cost, the hassle, or the risk of having to get planning permission. So that's what I do. You could buy an existing HMO, which already has got planning permission, but the problem with that is you're gonna pay a premium for that. So what I've said is what I do, not to say it's the one and only thing how to benefit from Article 4, but that's what I'm doing, and I hope that helps you. Okay, next. Question from Chris Burgess. Hi Samuel, I'm in a good situation but don't know how to make the most of it. We've got a place in London and there's quite a bit of equity. We've been renting it out for the past few years but didn't change the mortgage to buy to let. The tenants have now moved out and we're looking for more. We want to release the equity. Should we change the mortgage to buy to let? It will increase our mortgage payments and will eat into the profit, but it will give us more of a chance the bank will lend us the money. I work in the film industry and a freelance photographer, but there are gaps in my employment, so not good to release as residential. Ooh, juicy question, Chris. Okay, so Chris, if you're going to rent it out, it really does need to be on a buy-to-let mortgage, because if you're renting it out as a residential mortgage, that is technically mortgage fraud. So if you got caught doing that, you're not going to get like put in prison or anything crazy like that, but they're not going to be happy, and they're probably going to slap you on the knuckles and force you to switch it over to buy-to-let. Worst case is they could make you pay off the mortgage and blacklist you. So definitely wouldn't advise renting it out as a residential. So what would I suggest that you do? Okay, do you know what I would do? I would sell it. I would sell that place, because the fact that you're saying if you switch it to buy-to-let, it's going to eat out of your profit and it's going to become not that profitable. I mean, geez, I don't suggest generally selling houses. The only time I would sell a house is if the house isn't making me much money and could make me more money if I put the money elsewhere. So the fact that you're not living in it anyway, of course I'd have to know the exact figures, but my guess is that you're going to be much better off if you just sell the place, and then with all the money you buy one, or even you buy more than one. I don't know how much money you're going to get for this property, but that's what I would probably be inclined to say to do. If you're getting a buy-to-let, of course, the lender is not so interested in your income. So the fact that you're a freelance videographer or photographer is probably not going to be an issue. That would be my gut feeling. However, I'd love you to come down to the Property Investors Crash Course if you haven't already, because you need to know what to do with the money once you've sold the house. If you don't want to sell the house and you think the property is fantastic, then just switch it over to a buy-to-let mortgage and just accept that you're going to be making a little bit less monthly income than you are if you did it as residential. Hope that helps, man. All right, last question. Now there's two more, go on, two more. Joshua says, good evening, Samuel. Good evening, Joshua. I have a burning question. How does one financially protect their property assets? Do you protect your property assets in a trust or do you go elsewhere? Okay, my suggestion, respectfully, Joshua, is that you don't ask that question until you got some serious assets first. Maybe you already do have assets. Maybe you're a multi-millionaire, I don't know. But I wouldn't worry about how to protect until you've got the money. Like, sometimes people let the tail wag the dog and they think, how am I going to save money on tax and how am I going to protect and all that stuff. But you know, ultimately, you're just going to sit down with an asset protection manager and an accountant and pick their brains. But there's no point paying them right now if you haven't got the wealth. So go get the wealth, go make the money, and then focus on how to protect it. Set up a company though. If you've got a company, if you're running a business, a trading business, it's better through a company as an individual for tax reasons, but also for protection, because if someone sues you, they're suing the company, not you personally, so your assets and your wealth is protected. But I really wouldn't spend more than about 35 seconds thinking about this, and we've probably spent 35 seconds already talking about it. So now I'd suggest that you spend the next 35 months going and creating wealth, and then we can spend another 35 seconds talking. But go make some money, man, and then we'll protect it. All right, last question. Guy Pennell. How important is modern day education in running a successful property business? I don't know what modern day education means. I mean, if you mean formal education, i.e. university, I don't think it's important at all. In fact, modern day formal education, i.e. schools, the education system, universities, they teach you to be poor. So not only do I think that they're unimportant, I actually think that they're damaging to you as an entrepreneur, because they train you to be poor, because the banks and the education system, they want you to be poor. And I can prove this in other videos, but I don't think it would be quite answering your question. But if you mean by modern education, you mean self-education, and you mean like my training programs, I guess, is that modern day education? That's really important. Jim Rohn says that formal education will make you a living, but self-education will make you a fortune. So self-education all the way. And modern day education, I don't know. I mean, I like to study history of economics. It depends on what you want to get. It depends. If you want to be rich, that's different to if you want to be a doctor or a hairdresser. So it's a broad question. But if you want to be rich, then you've got to do self-education. I'd suggest starting by some of my training programs. In fact, we run a 2-day Property Investors Crash Course. I might have mentioned it, I think I did it already on this video. I'm gonna leave the link below in the description with an invitation for you guys to come and join me at the 2-day Property Investors Crash Course on the house. Costs me thousands of pounds to put these programs on the house. Why am I doing that on the house? Why would I run it for free and put this program on for free? Number one, because your success is my oxygen, and I'm on a mission to help as many people become financially free as possible. Number two is I know that I believe in good karma, and I believe that when you give a lot of value, the money follows. So as a result of my training programs, I get a lot of joint venture partners, I get a lot of advanced students, and what goes around comes around. So get yourself booked on the program, link below, stop thinking about it, do it, and I look forward to working with you guys real soon. Please don't forget to smash the like button if you enjoyed the video, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell button, drop a comment below, and I look forward to getting to know you and seeing you on the next video. Thank you so much, peace out.